Let's begin by logging in. We'll enter the username and password and hit continue. This will take us into the reportal section. The training today covers the reportal user type, so you'll only have access into this area, and you'll see listed down here all of the reports that you've got access to. There are four main reports: the survey report, comparison, rank report and trend report. We can also see here how many data rows there are that are being displayed or can be displayed within each one. Let's start by taking a look at the survey report. You'll see the page is divided into a few main areas. We've got the filters at the top here, and another part of that filtering functionality is to be able to set the reporting period for the data that's displaying. And then we've got the returned data here. So 3 different views on the survey data. We've got a chart view, verbatim view, which will show us the actual verbatim responses, and we can also see some statistics about how the report's been performing. Moving to the top here and just looking at the filters, I'm going to choose, I've only got the one practice available here. If you have access to the data for multiple practices, then you'll get a list of all the ones you can access. If there's just one practice, then just one will appear in there. You can see the way the data changes here as I change the filter. So if I want to, I can choose a particular practitioner to view. If I drop down into the expanded filter here, I can choose multiples or choose several individuals to look at, and the data will update accordingly. I can also add additional filters, so here we've got a gender, and I could also choose a particular age range. Now these options that are available will depend on the data that's been imported, so there may be more or less or different options to filter on up here, but the principle is always the same. And I can either clear the filters from the drop-down list, or I can go through to here and update. Unselecting everything will make sure that essentially everything is being used, all are applied. So here, just looking at the chart, we've got the view of the first question, the likelihood to recommend, and we can see a little bit more information when we hover over. And the pie here shows the FFT score and the amount of detractors and promoters, passives. And the same information is displayed here as for the chart just at the bottom. So we can see the same information down here. When we go through and look at the actual verbatim responses, this is the open text question that follows that asks a little bit more about why the score's been given, and they'd appear here alongside their actual response value and then the text that they've provided. Obviously this is just some demo data here, so not actual messages that have come through. The paginator at the bottom allows you to switch through the pages and view more. And we can change the number of records that will be displayed per page by using the filter here. So more of those will just be made available at the bottom. And the statistic view, that tells us a little bit more about how the survey's been performing. So we can see specifically how many questions have been issued in the time period chosen here. If I change the time period, we'll see that data change. And we can also see some information like the percentage of questions that have been delivered and how many replies we've had, invalid and valid, how many valid replies have been used to calculate the scores, and how many verbatim responses have been received. We can also export the data by clicking here, and we can view a print format for the page by using the print icon. This gives us the same information that we were viewing, and just click close to return. You can return to the main reports list at any time by just clicking the reports link here. And let's continue by looking at the comparison report. The comparison report lets you compare two different sets of filters, and you can view a chart and tabular view of the data that results. I've only got one practice available to me, so I can choose that here, but equally if I'd got more than one available that I can access, if I've got permission to more than one, then I can select two different ones, for example, from the list and compare the performance of two practices. I've got a practitioner field here, so I can choose a couple of different practitioners to compare. And you can see that option 1 is practitioner 1 and option 2 is practitioner 2 there for me to look at their data. And depending on what data's been uploaded, what attribute data, here I've got gender and age range. I can also filter that comparison further. And just like the filters in the other reports, I can set several options for something like the age range. That restricts the data a little further, and you can see the chart dynamically updating, and the data in the table here will be the same. You can also export the data separately, exporting the option 1 and option 2 filtered data. We also have the print view, and we can close that by clicking the close option here and return back to the dynamic report. Let's take a look at the rank report next. With the rank report, again, we've got some options at the top here for filtering. We can choose a primary and secondary group that we're going to rank the data by. So for example, if I choose practitioner and organisation, I've only got one organisation in this data, so you can see I've only got access to one practice, but it will show me practitioner 1, 2 and 3. I can compare the ranking across for the FFT score. We've also got some additional filtering, so just like on the other reports, we can filter down further within the organisation, and if I want to, I can filter particularly to an individual or a couple of practitioners. I can also say whether I've got the option here for gender, and I can also filter to a specific age range if I like. These options may vary by the data that's been uploaded and the attributes that have been collected and stored with the data. And we can also clear the filters here, and we can also clear them in the drop-down lists. We can also change the reporting period, either extend it or change to a different period. The data will update accordingly. And we can export the data here by clicking the export option, or view a print preview by clicking here. And last of all here we've got the trend report. So in just the same way, we have the filter area and the reporting periods at the top that we can adjust to change the view of the chart there and the tabular view of the data. And in exactly the same way, we can filter down, choose particular practitioners for example, or we can choose more than one. Shows that there's more than one chosen here. And obviously edit and change the filter. And we can filter down more specifically by gender and age range if we want to. Choose multiples, just like all the other reports, and you can see the data dynamically updating here. And just as with the others, we can change the reporting periods. Equally, we've got the export data option here. So clicking here will give us the option to take the data into a comma separated file, and we've got a print view that will give us the tidy version for printing. So what I'd like to just show you now is how the export data works, and this is exactly the same for all of the different report types. I'm going to jump across here into a Windows view of the platform just so that you can see how that works on the file system there for the PC. So having clicked into a report, I can just choose the export data option at the bottom, and it will ask me where I'm going to save the file, and I save as and choose my location on my local machine where it's going to go and hit save. And then the file's been exported. I can click back into the folder there to find the report data, and then that's available in a comma separated format to be able to use in Microsoft Excel, for example. So thank you for watching. That concludes the introduction to the reportal selection for FFT reports.